By the end of this video, you would have created this cool mini game where the interactions like pulling the string or releasing an arrow triggers haptic vibration, creating a sense of immersion. And the best part, you'll see how to develop this game once and build it for both Quest Standalone and other PCVR devices. In the last two videos, we saw how to design haptics using Meta's Haptics Studio and integrate it inside Unity using the Haptics SDK. We also saw how you can use the Interaction SDK to create different type of interactions. The main goal of this video is to combine haptics along with interaction to create an immersive experience. Now before we get started, I'd like to thank Meta for sponsoring this video and for their support. So here I have my Unity project open, which has been set up with the latest version of Meta XR all-in-one SDK. Now you can also download this project from the GitHub link below, or if you want to know how to set it up from scratch, I will leave a link for that as well. Now moving on to the project settings, first we'll see how to set up our project for Quest standalone devices, develop a scene, build and test it on our Quest 3, and then we'll come back and change the project settings for PCVR devices, make small changes in our scene, and then build and test it on HTC Vive. So to set it up for Quest standalone, navigate inside File, Build Settings, select Android and switch the platform. Then navigate inside Player Settings, select XR Plugin Management and select Oculus as the plugin provider. Next, select Meta XR, and here if it shows you any fixes or recommended settings, go ahead and apply them. And with that, we have our project set up. Next, download the Meta Haptics ISDK package and import it inside Unity. This package comes with a lot of things, basically everything that you'll need to build this minigame, except for the scripts that combine haptics and integration. That is something that we will code together. Now to give you an overview of the minigame, first we start from the tutorial scene where the user will be asked to grab the bow. And once you grab the bow, there will be a canvas that tells you that you have to press the trigger to activate the shield. And then you can grab an arrow. So during this process, the tutorial game controller is going to check if you have grabbed the bow and pressed the trigger and you have grabbed an arrow. If you have successfully completed all these three, then it is going to activate these tutorial enemies. So the enemies are going to come, it's going to shoot at you, and then they're going to go around you, and you will have to shoot the arrow and kill them. So once you have killed both the enemies, you get this survival mode main game menu, and once you start the main game, you are inside the main game, and then the enemies spawn and you have to survive for as long as possible. Now to set up a scene, navigate inside Haptics ISDK package, scene, and open the main scene. We'll come to the tutorial scene later on. Now since we are building for the Quest platform, the first thing that we want to do is to add the OVR interaction rig. We can do that easily by right clicking on the hierarchy, navigate inside Interaction SDK and add the OVR interaction rig. Now this prefab comes along with all the components required to track our headset and hands. And it has also been set up with different type of interactors like grab, poke and ray among the others. Next, we need to set up interactions for the bow and arrow. If you remember from the previous video, we can add this easily by using quick actions. So all we have to do is right click on the bow, navigate inside Interaction SDK and select Add Grab Interaction. From the grab wizard, we can select the required interactors, we can select the grab types, make sure all the required components are there and click on Create. Now this will add all the required components and allow us to grab the bow. But you'll be able to grab the bow in all sort of angles and directions. So to constrain the way in which you can grab the bow in a particular direction and angle, I've created an empty game object called as bow grab point and set its rotation and its position. Now all we have to do is select the grab interaction, scroll down till you find the grab interactable component, and inside options we need to drag and drop it inside the grab source. And now if you try to grab the bow, it is going to get aligned to your hand in the exact same position every single time. Now to interact with the string, we need to add grab interaction, but we need to restrict it in the Z direction by a certain distance so that you cannot pull beyond that distance. So to do that, right click on the arrow attach point, navigate inside Interaction SDK, click on Add Grab Interaction and create it. Then scroll down and add a component called Grab Free Transformer. Here we want to constrain all the position and the rotation, but we want to constrain it along the Z axis from a minimum value of -0.25 to 0. Then select this component, scroll all the way up and drop it inside the OneGrab transformer parameter inside optionals of the grabbable component. Similarly, let's add grab interaction to the arrow and also add the arrow grab point. Now to set up the bow and arrow interaction, if you have a look at the bow prefab, you'll see that it has the bow interaction script the arrow attach point has the arrow to bow interaction script and the arrow has the arrow interaction script. All we have to do is assign the missing parameters. So let's start with the bow. It needs a grabbable and interactable. So you can select this, drag and drop it in here. Similarly, we can select the attach point and drag and drop the ISDK hand grab interaction here like this, and select the arrow and do the same. Now, if you want to know how each of the interaction scripts work, then check out the blog linked in the description below. Maybe someday I make a video on that as well. Next, navigate inside OVR camera rig interaction, OVR camera rig tracking space, select center eye anchor and add a component called player health. Also add a box collider and adjust its size and its position. And make sure to check ease trigger. Now the player health along with the box collider will see if there's any projectile hitting it, and if it is, then it's going to reduce the player health by certain value. Then select the arrow and the bow prefab and make sure to apply all the changes. And now to test our scene, navigate inside File, Build Settings, Player Settings, select XR plugin management, go inside PC tab and make sure to check Oculus as the plugin provider. And then connect your headset using Link or AirLink and press the play button. Alright, so here I'm able to grab the bow. I can grab the string and pull it, and once I release it, it comes back to its normal position. Let's grab an arrow and attach it, and it gets attached automatically. And once I release it, the arrow gets fired, and this looks really nice. While testing, you might notice two errors. To fix it, select the bow prefab, scroll down, and here we need to add a controller. During runtime, it will choose a controller automatically, but to start with, we need to add one of them. So navigate inside camera rig, OVR camera rig, comprehensive, and OVR controllers, select left controller and drag and drop it in here. It really doesn't matter whether it's left or right for now, because when we play the game, it's going to choose automatically. Then select the main game controller, and here we need to attach the player health, which is inside the center eye camera. So select it and drag and drop it in here. Alright, now that we have the scene set up, let's see how to add haptics for each of these interactions, like pulling the string, releasing the arrow, activating the shield, and even playing haptics when the enemy projectile hits the shield. So for that, go inside your project folder and create a script called as Haptics Controller. Open it up and I will see you in Visual Studio. Now this is a very simple script. First we need to declare the package that we are using, which is oculus.haptics. Then we need to declare a variable to store the controller. Is it a left controller or a right controller? And then a property which will allow us to get the controller that we have currently assigned. Now back in Unity, navigate inside the OVR camera rig, Interaction Comprehensive, OVR controllers, and select the controller interactors under both left and right controllers and add the script. Then select the controller interactor and make sure it is left for the left controller and right for the right controller. Next, create a new script and call it as Bow Interaction Haptics Manager and open it up. So let's start by adding the packages that we'll be using, which is oculus.haptics and oculus.interaction. Then delete this code and declare the variables to store the grab interactable for the bow and the grab interactable for the string. Now since we have to play haptics for when the string is pulled, the arrow is fired, when the projectile is blocked and the shield is opened, we need to reference 4 different haptic clips and 4 different haptic players. So let's declare those variables now. Then we need to create a variable to store the arrow to bow interaction component. We'll be using this component later on to extract the pull amount and play the haptics on the string accordingly. Similarly, we need to create a variable to store the shield component so that we can access the events on when the shield is open, when it is closed, and when a projectile has hit the shield. Next, we need to declare 2 variables to store the bow grab interactor and the string grab interactor so that we know which controller is grabbing what. Is left controller grabbing the bow and the right controller the string, or the other way around? And talking of controllers, we need to declare variables to store those controllers as well. And finally, we need a variable to see if the string is being grabbed. Next, on awake, we need to create new haptic clip players for each of the variables, reference it, and assign the respective clips. Now imagine you're holding the bow with the left controller. When you release the arrow, we want to feel the haptics on the left controller. Similarly, when you deploy the shield, since you're holding the bow with your left controller, the vibration will be again on your left controller. And finally, when the enemy projectile hits the shield, you get to feel the projectile once again on your left controller. Now since we'll have like 3 different haptics player trying to play the haptics simultaneously on one controller, we need to prioritize them. So on awake method, we can set the priority for each of the haptic clip. Here I've set the priority number 1 for when the shield is opening. So imagine you're shooting the arrow and the shield is opening at the same time. The shield opening haptics will get played and the arrow shooting will get ignored. Similarly, the next priority is being given to the arrow being shot, and the third one is for when the projectile is blocked. And then finally, we can get the respective components of shield and arrow to bow interaction and reference them to the respective variables. Next, on enable, we want to listen to the events when the bow is grabbed and released. Similarly, we want to listen to the events when the string is grabbed and released. And also listen to the events when the shield is open, closed or hit. Now all that's left to do is to write each of these functions. So when the bow is grabbed, first we want to find out which interactor is grabbing it, and from the interactor we can get to know which controller is grabbing the bow. And then when the bow is released, we want to set the bow interactor to null. Similarly, when the string is grabbed, we want to find out the string interactor, find out which controller is grabbing the string and play the string haptics. And now to play the string haptics, first we need to make sure that there's a string interactor. If it is there, then we want to set the looping to true of the clip player. We need to set the variable isStringGrab to true, and then we can start playing the haptics. Now here we want to play the string haptics based on how much you have pulled the string. So the harder you pull the string, more stronger will be the amplitude. So in the update method, we want to see if the string is grabbed. If it is, then we want to get the pull strength from arrow to bow interaction and change the amplitude of the haptic clip player accordingly. Then when the string is released, we can stop the haptic that's playing from the string and instead play the haptics on arrow shot. And at the same time, we want to set the string interactor to null because we are not holding it anymore. And we want to set the variable to false so that we don't have to run this code inside the update method. And now to play the haptics when the arrow is fired, first we need to make sure that there is a bow interactor. If it is there, then we play the haptics. Similarly, we can play the shield haptics on the bow controller based on whether the shield is open or closed. But we want to play this haptics until the shield animation lasts. So for that, we can create a coroutine and stop the haptics once the animation is finished. And here, let's not forget to call the coroutine. And the final method that we need is to play the haptics when the projectile is hitting the shield. Alright, so with that we have the bow interaction haptics manager ready. We can save the script and go back to Unity. So back here in Unity, we can select the bow interaction haptics manager and add it to the bow prefab. Then scroll down, and here we need to reference these parameters. You can find the bow grab interactable by navigating inside the bow prefab and selecting the hand grab interaction. Drag and drop it here. You can find the string grab interaction inside the arrow attach point. So you can select this and drag and drop it here. Now to assign the haptic clips, you can select this button and assign the respective clips. So for string pull, it's going to be string pull. For arrow shot, it's going to be shoot arrow. For shield open, it's going to be shield activated. And for projectile block, it's going to be projectile blocked. Now just like the haptic manager, we have an audio manager to play the audio based on the type of interaction. Now you can find that by navigating inside Haptics ISDK package and scripts. Then select the bow audio manager and add this to the bow prefab as well. Then scroll down, and here once again we need to reference some of the parameters. You can find the string grab interactable inside the arrow attach point. So you can select it, drag and drop it here. Then we need to add two audio source, one for the string and one for the shield. So you can select the shield and the string and then add the audio source component. Then go back to the bow prefab and reference them here. Next, to assign the audio clips, once again we follow the same process. You can click on this button and assign the respective clip. And for the stretch audio step, you can select the last preset. Then scroll all the way up and make sure to apply all the overrides. Now you can save this scene. And next, to set up the tutorial scene, you can select the scene and add it to your hierarchy. Duplicate the OVR camera rig interaction and bring it all the way down inside the tutorial scene. Then you can remove the main scene, and you don't have to save any of the changes. Now here in the tutorial scene, navigate inside arrow, select ISDK hand grab interaction, scroll down and add the interactable Unity event wrapper component. Select this, drag and drop it inside the interactable view and select grab interactable. Next, when the arrow is grabbed, we want to take the tutorial game controller, and from the drop down select the game controller and select on arrow grabbed. Similarly, navigate inside the bow prefab, select ISDK hand grab interaction, add the interactable Unity event wrapper, drag and drop this inside interactable view, select grab interactable, and when the bow is grabbed, we want to select the tutorial game controller, and from the drop down, we want to select on bow grabbed. And that's about it. Now you can save your scene. Now to build and test this on our Quest device, navigate inside File, Build Settings, make sure to add the tutorial scene and then select the main scene and drag and drop it in here as well. And then make sure you're connected your device, click on Build and Run, create a new folder called as Builds, give your file a name and click on Save. Alright, so the game has been successfully built onto my headset. The environment looks really nice. Let's start by grabbing the bow and let's see if we can feel the haptics and the change in audio when we grab the string and pull it. Yep, it feels really nice. Now I'm able to feel the vibration continuously on my right controller. That's the controller that's grabbing the string. Now this is a design choice. Maybe you want to have vibration playing on both the controllers to show that both your left and your right hands are in tension. It's up to you. Alright, now let's press the trigger and see if the shield opens. Yes, the shield opens and I'm able to feel the haptics once again on the controller which is grabbing the bow. Now we can grab the arrow and shoot the enemies. And let's kill the last enemy. There we go. And once that's done, it'll give you an option to start the main game. So let's go. Alright, so when the game is starting, I'm able to feel the haptics on both the controllers. It's in sync with the audio that we just heard. And now let's open the shield, block from the enemy's attack and shoot them. Alright, so once you die, it says game over and here you get two options, either to retry or quit the application. Alright, now let's see how to set up our game for PCVR. First, navigate inside File, Build Settings, select Windows as the build platform and switch the platform. Next, navigate inside Player Settings, select XR Plugin Management and select OpenXR as the plugin provider. During installation, if you get a pop-up asking if you want to enable the MetaXR feature set, click on Cancel. Then navigate inside OpenXR and here we can add some of the interaction profiles like Valve Index Controller, HTC Vive Controller, Oculus Touch Controller and MetaQuest Touch Pro Controller. Next, select Project Validation and here if you scroll down, it will recommend you not to install Oculus XR and OpenXR plugin at the same time. So to fix this, you can click on Edit, select Oculus XR plugin and remove it. So with that, we have our project set up. Now to set up our scene, navigate inside Haptics ISDK package, Scenes and open the main scene. Select the OVR camera rig interaction, delete it, then right click on your hierarchy, select Interaction SDK and add Unity XR interaction rig. Then open its child objects, navigate inside XR origin, tracking space, select main camera and add the player health component to this. And along with that, add a box collider, adjust its size, its position, and make sure to check ease trigger. Then open the child objects of Unity XR Interaction Comprehensive, select XR Controller Hands, disable it, select Unity XR Controllers and enable this. Now if you open this prefab, you will see that under left and right controllers, there are control visuals. Right now there's just a sphere. Now you can replace it with any model of your choice. Then select the controller interactors of both left and right controllers and add the haptic controller component to this. Make sure that this is left for the left controller and right for the right controller. Now since I have built this application before and I tested it, I know that when you try to grab the bow, the angle in which you grab it is different from that of Standalone. So for that, you need to select the bow grab point and change its values to 270 in the x-axis, 0 in the y and minus 90 in the z-axis. Similarly, for the arrow, we can select the arrow grab point and rotate it in the y-axis by 180. Then select both the prefabs and make sure to override the changes. Next, drag and drop the tutorial scene here, duplicate the Unity XR camera rig interaction, bring it inside the tutorial scene, remove the OVR camera rig interaction from here and save both the scenes. And now to build this mini game, remove the main scene, navigate inside File, Build Settings, click on Build, create a new folder called as PC Builds and select this folder as the build location. Alright, so I have the game running on my HTC Vive and I'm using Steam VR. Now let's see if all the interaction works. Let's start by grabbing the bow. There we go, I'm able to grab the bow. And now when I press the trigger button, the shield opens, which is really cool, which means that I'm able to use the trigger button as well. And now let's grab an arrow. And let's see if I'm able to attach the arrow here and shoot it towards the enemy. Perfect. So it means that all the interactions are working fine. By the way, I'm able to feel the haptics as well when I pull the string here like this and release it. Alright, so now you know how to use haptics and interaction together to create immersive experiences. What are the next steps? You can build on top of this project. You can create player health. You can have logic in place to see how many waves the user survived. You can even add haptics when the enemy explodes to create a small rumble in your controllers. Now, if you do end up building something cool, make sure to share it with us on LinkedIn or Discord. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.